the. Hi, Dave.
Who? Hi,
Anyone home?
I'm here. How's the picture? Is it still fuzzy?
Still fuzzy, but we're just moving forward.
Okay.
So this is your official fall update. Last time that we talked, you had pressed pause. And so why don't you tell us what you've been up to since you pressed pause and stepped back a little bit?
Yeah. Well, it was harder than I thought to do that. I remember when we did it, it was the only thing I knew how to do at the time. Like I didn't want to end, call everything to an end relative to TTR, but I knew I needed to press pause. So one of the things that I know I said at the last update was that I needed to pay attention to some medical things. And so I spent a lot of time since I talked to everybody last looking for a doctor. And if anybody's ever done that, it's a pain in the baboonga to do that. It was just exhausting. The good news, without going into all that, was I feel really good about having found somebody I really trust at the U of M. It's actually someone that my sister, who has IPF as well, and she lives in Cincinnati, had recommended not the U of M, but there's this interconnectedness of certain hospitals that deal exclusively with IPF. And so I found a doctor that at the U of M who is actually connected to and talks to the doctor that my sister has, believe it or not, who's in hospice care right now with IPF. And that's kind of a side note thing. The biggest thing in connecting with this doctor at the U of M was that I trust him like crazy. He spent a long time with me. The tests that we took the day I went took 2 hours. Then I met with him and we spent an hour together. And it reminded me of when I went to Mayo Clinic right after I was diagnosed. We went to Mayo Clinic, Bonnie and I did, to get the diagnosis confirmed. And I was just blown away by how they listened to you. And this was very much like that. And I heard my story, connected all the dots, asked questions that I didn't even think of. We talked about the possibility of lung transplants, when I need to be on oxygen. One of the good things that came out of it, well, one is I feel protected. Like now I'm back under this umbrella of care, and I kind of had lost that because I lost confidence in where I was going before. But this doctor had all the tests in front of him, even the ones he had taken that morning. And he said, for someone who was diagnosed with IPF 5 years ago, you're in really good shape. And you are progressing. It has progressed. I mean, that's why I went in, because I was feeling that, and it has progressed. That's what this disease does. But he said, you're in much better shape than most people who've been diagnosed with this, who've had it for 5 years. And so that was very encouraging. It gave me some perspective on a lung transplant. And he said, people who get lung transplants are really on their last breath. You're nowhere near. That was good news. And it's going to be a long time until we even talk about that. Things could change. That's all true. And we're just going to, now I have somebody that I feel like I trust, that I could call anytime and help me navigate when will I need oxygen and things like that. So I think the biggest thing coming out of that was I'm not going to die anytime soon. Anyways, I don't know. When you get by yourself, you kind of, the walls close in on you. And having a doctor that I trust and talks to me was just a big thing. So I felt really good that we pressed pause. It was very important that we did that. But after that's enough with the medical stuff. But after I pressed pause, I kind of became aware that I needed a different kind of doctor, not just a medical doctor. I got pretty depressed, and it's no big secret to the people who are around me. And it's not a new thing for me. Even people at Open Door. I mean, like, I don't think I'm experienced by people as someone who gets depressed, but I have battled with depression from time to time over the years. I've mentioned it at times from the pulpit. And my experience with depression has been, it comes in like the tide. I don't know why. and then it goes out like the tide. I don't know why. So over the years, when it's happened, I don't know why it happened. I just wait. I just wait for it to go out, because it's going to go out, and it'll go out, and I don't know why it goes out. I don't know why it comes in. So you just keep functioning and do what you do. And this time it wasn't going out, and I couldn't identify what was this about. And after a while of that, Bonnie, we were sitting out in our back porch, and she said, "Dave, I think you're grieving something." And it was anyway, it was big deal, except it was like something flipped the trigger. That was a trigger thing for me. I think you're grieving, which reframed this darkness that I was feeling. It's not just depression, might be that, but what if it's not? What if depression isn't what's leading? What if grief is leading and depression's following that? Because I thought she was right. Over the years, when I've had depression, one of the maddening things about it is I couldn't name it. I couldn't name why. Like, it comes in like the tide, I don't know why. Well, that's maddening. When my dad died, I used to talk about this a lot. I remember there was something very grievous about that, and I had a season of grief in that, but I never wondered why. I knew why. I could name it. My dad just died. That's why. And that made me feel less crazy. And I was able to name a few things that right now I'm grieving around my health, around Ned Berube, who I talked about, I think last time, in terms of the burns he's had, and he's not able to partner with me right now in these retreats. And even pressing pause was kind of a grief. Like, I'm not getting up in the morning with another talk. It was good to get the talks off of me, but at the same time, I'm going, what do we do? And I don't want to plan another retreat, but what do I do? So there's some grief in that. And I know enough about me and what I've done over the years. When I notice stuff like that, I get help. I'm not ashamed of feeling any of that. Those are just things you experience. And I hope that helps people to know. Just say it out loud. And I do way too loud. I shout it from the rooftops, I need help. So anyway, so I started looking for somebody who would help me with that. I had no idea. I Googled it, grief, therapy, and I did. Found some people, and Bonnie suggested somebody that we know. And like a lot of times, there's somebody right under your nose. It's a person who's gone to Open Door for years, a woman who has helped us with family situations and therapy, and I just trusted her. So I went to her, and turns out that's one of her specialties is grief stuff. And so we were talking, and I was explaining what I just said to you about the things I could name about grief, and how when Bonnie said that about grief, not just depression, it kind of piqued my interest. She did something that was really strange, and this feels like a God thing in terms of our finding. Her name is Debbie, because she wouldn't have asked this question if she didn't know me. And so that's the weird thing. I ended up with a therapist who I know and who knows me, and she asked me, I remember back when Dave Busby died, and all of a sudden, okay, this is probably not going to make any sense, but all of a sudden, the scope of what I was thinking about relative to what I needed to grieve, when she said Busby, it also got bigger. It was bigger than right now, what I'm in right now. It went back to 1997. And all of a sudden I started thinking, and I'm telling you, I didn't just, intentionally try to start thinking. I started getting flooded with seasons of things that we would go through as a church, as a staff, sometimes as a person in our marriage. And I even remember seasons where, from the outside looking into church, for instance, people from the outside looking in would go, that's great, this got to be great. It wasn't great. It was great, but we used to talk as a staff about, we don't have time to celebrate our victories, and we don't have time to grieve our losses. And there were always both happening at the same time. And as soon as you would get through some sort of crisis, whatever it was, and there were lots, one after another, it's life. It's just life. But as soon as you get through one, you take a breath, and there's another one. And you just get at it and get at it. And You know what? It is just life. But there were things, she recommended a book called The Body Keeps the Score. So, and she recommended I get that. And I read that book, and I don't have time to fill in all the details of it, but in a very strange place. I've been in places like this before when I could tell I was in an uncomfortable place, but in a good place. And I think I'm in that kind of place now. It makes me glad I pressed pause, because I'm going back to look at some things and go through some things again. And I'm glad I'm doing it with someone I trust, because I don't want to wallow in this, but I want to be in whatever I need to be in as long as I need to be to get free. And I have shared this with a couple of close friends, ministry people, and both of them, I think that what I'm talking about relative, first of all, I always think about guys and men and women in ministry, and we go from conflict to conflict to conflict. And when you get through one, you take a breath, you go on, and there's another, and then there's another. And you know what? That's not just ministry, that's everybody. And I'm 71 years old, and I'm at a time where I did well. I did well with all that stuff, and so are you, everybody out there. But it's time for, if I'm going to finish well, and this is the talk I have to do. And if I ever get back to retreats, this is going to be a big part of them. I gotta go through some of this stuff, and I'm not ready. I'm really even. I did a thing with the men at Open Door on a week ago Saturday. Guys would come up to me after, and I just felt juice on it, and I want to do it again. I want to do it. I want to get with that kind of. And wait, not yet. I'm not ready to give it away. I'm just trying to give you an update. I hope this makes some sense. I think I'm in a good place. It's not comfortable. I'm believing God's in it, and there's healing in it. And here's what I wrote down. And maybe when I'm through it, I will share it with my brothers and sisters and my sons and daughters. It's too soon.
Yeah.
But that's my update.
Well, it reminds me of Robbinsdale building 1 million years ago. And you had this term that you gotta get out what's going on in here.
Get out here, what's in here.
Yep. And it reminds me, I think that's what you're doing. Like, you're getting out all of the things that are happening in here, and you're bringing it out into a place that is made for healing and wholeness. And that is a sacred and holy place, and not one you can rush.
I don't want to scare people like when you turn 70, you got to do it all over again. But I do think there's parts of that, because I do think we were doing that. I was doing that. Even when we were in it, I didn't hide anything ever. But I'm extremely aware of how quickly we needed to move to the next. And one of the things I talk about on my retreats is you don't want to become a bitter old fool. We're all going to become an old fool, diminished. We're all going to die, and you need to let go. And in this season, I could just smell that bitter thing coming back, like going, and I don't want to be that. I want to joke about being that. I want to be, I want to make a movie of the grumpy old men, and I want to star in it. Yeah. But I don't really want to be that at all.
Yeah.
But so I'm encouraged. I wish I had something about like the next talk I'm doing or the next place I'm speaking. I have been speaking places still. I'm drawing some new boundaries. I think when I'm through this, I will share it with my brothers and sisters. So anyway, there's some work to do. That's what I'm doing.
Great. Well, I look forward to our next update sometime this winter. And other than that, I think thanks for everyone who still continues to donate so generously. Thanks for allowing this space. And Dave is walking alongside his board as he walks through this pause and this healing time. And you're a sneaky little guy, because you're still meeting with pastors around
Yeah.
a fire and inviting people into your story and sharing the little pieces that you feel like you do have with the community around you. So thanks,
I
everyone.
like that. I like that. I'm a sneaky little guy.
You're a sneaky little guy.
Come on over. Come on over.
I'm on a pause, but I'll still smoke a cigar.
With you. Yeah, right. Yeah. No, that's good. Thanks.
Well, thanks, everyone. And we look forward to hearing from you again soon, Dave.
Bye-bye.